There's like a lot of rabbits in here, guys. This is my new sign that my son got me for Christmas. Really got a good laugh out of here. It's not hung yet, just propped in the window because I haven't completely decided on where it should go, inside, out, whatever. But a lot of fun. He actually got this off Etsy, and apparently he didn't have to design this himself. This is something that was out there for sale. So apparently I'm not the only person with like a lot of rabbits. So Happy New Year. Been off for a little bit with the holidays and the break, but we're getting back into it. I had intended to bring you a video today about how I deal with water in the winter. That's a question that goes round and round the forums for really good reason. My answer is obviously Crocs, but we'll get into that on another day. Like I said, I had intended to do that today, but when I came out, it's cold, but it's not quite as cold as I thought it was. And it's always a little bit warmer here in the rabbit barn, you know, because I do have windows and doors, and it stays, oh, I don't know, if I had to guess, probably 4 or 5 degrees warmer than outside. So where we're hovering around 32, it wasn't actually enough to freeze my waters, which was great. And that's really nice because I do have, you know, it's not too hard for me to deal with water. Definitely do have weather where we get solid freezing for a long time, but again, we'll do that another day when we actually have some freezing. So instead, I decided to pivot and talk to you today about the breeds that I keep and why I keep them. This was a question that came up in comments a couple of weeks ago. It's a great question. Everybody has the different reasons for what they pick and what they keep, and we'll just chat a little bit about mine. So first of all, what do I raise? I raise New Zealands. Mine currently are a New Zealand white. My doe, I've got a broken doe, which just means that she's kind of got that sort of Holstein cow coloring. But you do get other colors thrown in there, especially crossing them up. You can see that, you know, one of the last litters we had a black. I've had some kind of silver colored ones, different colors of brown. Kind of neat, kind of fun. I actually think it's pretty interesting to see what they throw when you breed the same two breeding pairs for a long period, and then you come up with these completely new random colors. It's kind of fun. So again, basically, I'm not really picky about color. I don't show. I'm not worried about any of that. But I do keep Californians and New Zealands. So what, and also I should say also in crosses of the two. Most of the crosses I have held, you know, like Tippy, she's actually a cross of a Californian and one of the past New Zealands. She's been a great mother. She's thrown great kits that make great grow outs at good weights. You know, but so what brought me to raising these? I would say there's probably about 4 or 5 reasons why I landed on these two breeds. And this is not to say that there aren't other great breeds out there. In fact, I do have plans to pursue some different breeds in the future. But one of probably the first and foremost reason why I keep them is that they're one of the most common breeds, and in my area, they're one of the most available breeds. So that's important. You have to be able to get hold of stock, right? If you want to get started. And how far do you want to travel for them? Are you willing to pay to have them transported and shipped in? Those are options. And I'll say they're good options if you have limited quality stock in your area. I would say it might be worth a moderate investment to get some rabbits and get going. You know, they pay for themselves. In meat production, there's a lot of different ways they pay for themselves. So it's worth some investment, but we have to be reasonable too, right? Because we are all people living on a budget. Some budgets are bigger than others, but we are. It's just a fact of life. So they're one of the most common breeds. I can find them around me. I can also find replacement stock around me. So I do selectively hold back from time to time stock to be replacement breeders. But every once in a while, you kind of get to a point where it's time to inject some new life and some new genetics in there. And that's another consideration. You know, maybe you transported in, let's say you transported in your original breed. How are you going to be able to get more replacement stock for your breeders if staying with the same breed and having purebreds or a selected cross is important to you? Another consideration is that I have a decent resale market. There's a fair amount of meat rabbit breeders around me, you know, mostly hobbyist backyard people like me. But it's nice that to have a recognized breed that people are looking for, recognizing, and that they want to buy. So I'm not discounting some of the less common breeds either, because on the other hand, there's something to be said for the fact that if you're the only person who has a certain breed that someone might be looking for within 100 or 200 miles, well, then you may have your own niche market there too. But some of the things to consider. Other consideration, probably one of the other main considerations, was the size. Both of these breeds were developed as medium commercial meat breeds. They have good bone to meat ratio, either as purebreds or as crossbreeds. I frequently cross the Californian and the New Zealand when I breed for grow outs, and that gives me the good growth rate of the New Zealands with the good bone to meat ratio of the Californians, and produces a really fine quality carcass. Either of these also as purebreds are just fine. You know, I do find the Californians probably grow out as grow outs a little bit slower in comparison to the New Zealands, but we still hit our target ranges within a reasonable amount of time. So it's not as if any of them are inefficient keepers either. But, you know, if you do some research, you do some reading, looking up, that's a pretty common cross for grow outs, is the Californians crossed with the New Zealands. Temperament, that's another big one for me. I don't want to reach my hand in there. I don't want to be bitten. Scratching, well, that depends on what you're doing with them, but by and large, really don't get scratched too much. That's kind of more of a handling issue anyway, at least for me with these rabbits. You know, I do have young children, nieces, nephews, other family members, friends, kids that come in here throughout the year, and I want them safe too. I want them to be able to look and enjoy the rabbits and maybe even hold one. Frequently I'll wrap them in a hand towel. That's more for the rabbits' protection than the kids. But temperament's important to me. If I have a rabbit who I've kept to be a breeder and she turns out to be a bad mother or have a bad attitude, or if I'm afraid I'm going to get bitten when I reach my hand in the cage, sorry, but you're going to go and you're going to be replaced by someone else. Beauty of rabbits is that, you know, my worst case scenario is I may have to breed a replacement and raise it up, but tops that's going to take me 6 months before we can get breeding. And like I said, I generally hold some back. It's also beneficial that I don't harvest until 16 weeks. So a lot of times, even though I maybe didn't intend for a grow out to be a breeder, if I need to make a selection for a breeder, I usually have some stock that's half or 3/4 of the way there to breeding age. So that's, you know, gives me some more options. Hardiness and climate are a consideration. It wasn't my main concern when I chose New Zealand's and Californians, though I find both of these are good in my climate. I live in New England, and we have, you know, we can have real extremes in the summer. We can have heat waves and temperatures in the 90s. It's not our norm, but it happens. We can have heat indices of 100 or better during those times. And on the other hand, you know, we might be -20 for a week or so in the winter. And increasingly these days, as is what happened this week, we might have snow on Sunday, 10 inches of snow, and by Wednesday we had 3 inches of rain, and it was close to 60 degrees. So it is nice to have an animal that can take that kind of change. Those kind of ups and downs and fluctuations, that's tough on any animal, and these have done really well through it. But especially if you live in, say, a warmer climate, you might consider something like the Timuks that were bred with larger ears, which gives them better heat dispersal. You know, there are other breeds out there that might be well suited to your particular microclimate. I do find that all of these guys, they grow good coats, they acclimate well, they take the summer heat well, and they take the winter cold well. So, you know, I don't do anything, by the way, to kind of spoil them. I never provide additional heat. I will provide if we need to, if we're getting into some really brutal cold, severe cold snaps, especially if it's something that's following, say, a week when we were in the 30s or 40s the week before, and we're going to have a 50-degree swing, which has literally happened here. You know, that's not to say that I don't provide them with some extra hay or shavings or something to help them through that. My big thing is keep them out of the wind, keep them dry, out of the wet, and they'll usually take anything, even without a lot of added protection. Also kind of an aside, but does wrap here into hardiness and climate. Some other factors that you might want to consider, you know, and these are probably more personal choices, not really something that drove my choice, but you know, the type of coat, the color, the fur. Are you someone who wants to tan some hides? Do you want some particular colors? Do you maybe want all whites? You know, if that's something that's important to you, then that would be something that you should factor into your selection of breed. Resale value, like we touched upon before, like I said, that can go both ways. You can have a good resale value because you've got the two most popular breeds, or maybe you're creating yourself a niche market because you're one of a very few breeders of a select type of breed. Interest is another factor for me. You know, I put a lot of work into these animals, and I see no reason not to make that fun and interesting to me. I like the Californians. They're kind of a little bit shy, but very friendly. The New Zealands are kind of a little more, I don't know, I think of them as slightly rowdy children. They're not bad, but, you know, and that's kind of fun too. You come in here, you know, the ones who are going to run circles and jump and until you feed them or talk to them or something. Kind of neat to get some personality out of some animals. But, you know, different interest in breed. Definitely, if you have a specific interest, go for it. You know, why not enjoy what you're doing? There's nothing to say that you should be stuck with a certain breed because someone else said you had to be. Make it fun and interesting for you. And finally, one that not just with rabbits, but also, like, you know, I've raised cows and chickens. I've had different types of animals over the years. And something that's kind of an interest to me is preserving some of the breeds that are a little more endangered. Now, Californians and New Zealands are certainly not endangered breeds, but there are a lot of breeds of rabbit that are on kind of the spectrum, the scale of breed conservancy. And my go-to source for that is the Livestock Conservancy. That's livestockconservancy.org. And they have a kind of five criteria, 5 levels of breed conservation. They'll list different breeds and what their status is. So, for example, the silver fox breed, which I do see quite a bit in the forums, people talking about them, so they're definitely out there, but they're a rabbit breed that's considered in a recovering status. Standard chinchilla and cream de argent are right now, they're listed as a threatened status. So that might be one that if you want to help conserve a breed, because once they're gone, you know. So if you want to help conserve a specific breed, maybe check out the Livestock Conservancy and see what's on there. And maybe the standard chinchilla and the cream de argent is one for you. Silver martins are in a critical phase. American chinchilla and giant chinchilla are on a watch status. The breed that I intend to, again, this goes back to pure interest. I you know, a lot of you who have watched my videos know that I mention Alyssa at BHA Rabbitry a lot, and she keeps champagne de argents. They're the color changing rabbit. Sounds kind of cool, look kind of neat. They have a great growth rate and size. So those are ones, and she says also a good temperament, and she's in New York, so I know that they're suited to my climate. So they check a lot of those boxes, but it's one that's just interesting to me. So that's that's the breed that I intend to add at some point this year. I've intended to for a while, but you know, life and just getting out there to get them is the big hurdle. But I don't find them on the conservation list now. I did think they may have been in the past, and they're definitely not one of the most popular breeds. So, you know, it kind of warms my heart a little bit to think about trying to help out a breed before they disappear. Like I said, once they're gone, they're gone. So I'm glad to see that I do see mention of a lot of these different breeds out there and people who are keeping them. So that's my list. That's how I came to keeping my rabbits. There is an article that accompanies this video. You can find it at meetrabbits.org, and you know, probably find a little more detail and maybe even hit on a couple of things that I might not have thought about as I was making this list. And also, you know, if you've got either recommendations, a favorite breed, why are they your favorite breed, or a criteria that you think I maybe missed that should be on this list, definitely let me know about it. One that I actually just thought about, and I can't say this is exclusive to these two breeds, but one thing that I do breed for is performance on my chosen feed program, which is 18% pellets supplemented with hay. So I do try and keep with rabbits that I find that perform well on that. So, you know, again, like, you may or may not find significant differences between different breeds, but those are the kinds of things I think of. And again, like, you know, let me hear it. What helps you decide on what breed you keep? What breed do you like? What breed do you recommend? Is there a breed on the conservancy list that you think should get more attention? You know, put it in the comments. Maybe you'll trigger some of us to go check them out and help out that breed as well. So, you know, welcome back to the new year. Thanks for listening. Hope you'll jump over to the website, read the article, feel free to comment, ask questions. If you have a topic you would like to hear more about, or a question about my rabbitry and how I do things, certainly I'm not the be all and the end all. Everybody does things a little different. People keep different breeds of rabbits, you know, but I try to present what I'm doing so that you can learn and gather your information and make your choices based on some good hands-on first-hand information, not just from me, but from a variety of breeders and growers. And I wish you health and good luck in the new year, and I hope you have a great year raising your own meat rabbits.